Hi everyone, I'm going to be showing you a little lesson on finding the area of a parallelogram today. I have up here on the board a rectangle. So finding the area of a rectangle, it should be pretty straightforward. We've talked about that before. If you remember that to find the area of a rectangle, you are going to multiply length times width, okay? And so we can see the length is at the long side, so we're going to do 5 times 4 equals 20 square units for the area of that rectangle. And we're used to doing area of a rectangle. We were first looking at rectangles on a grid where we would count the squares, and then we realized that we can just multiply length times width or top times side, and we can get the area of the rectangle. So area of a parallelogram sounds a little more complicated, but it actually is not that bad. The trick to knowing the area of a parallelogram is to understand that a parallelogram can actually be made out of a rectangle. So if I take that same rectangle and I cut out a triangle from the rectangle, and I have now 2 pieces. I've cut out a triangle here from the rectangle. Together they still make the rectangle. It's the exact same rectangle as this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just rearrange it a little bit. So if we look now, it's not a rectangle anymore, it's a parallelogram. And when we find the area of a parallelogram, it's very similar to finding the area of a rectangle, except that the names are a little bit different. So the measurement across the bottom here, that is called the base. And then from bottom to top or top to bottom, that's called the height. And all you're going to do is you're going to multiply the base times the height. We know that the base is still going to be 4 because this came out of here. So it's the exact same measurement but moved over to the other side. So that's still 4. And the height is still 5. We can see that line right here that matches the length of that rectangle there. So the height from here to here, but now this is important. When you look for the height in a parallelogram, you always want to look for the perpendicular height. So straight up and down, not this slanted height here. You want to look at it from top to bottom going in a perpendicular across right here at the bottom. So a straight vertical line is your height. And we know that that's 5 because we can see it on the rectangle as well. So it's going to be base times height, 4 times 5 equals 20 square units. So the message is that finding the area of a parallelogram is just like finding the area of a rectangle, except we now call the bottom base and times the height. And it's the exact same math because you can see that it's the same measurements as the rectangle, but when we've cut that triangle out, we've actually turned it into a parallelogram. Hopefully that's clear, but it's a kind of fun trick to work with, and all you have to remember that the area of a parallelogram is base times height.